The E20 controversy is not going away. Millions of consumers are now complaining on social media about damage to their vehicles, a drop in mileage, the fact that this policy is not user friendly. But the government is digging in its heels. It's saying it's not backing down from this policy. It insists that the benefits outweigh the costs or the disadvantages. And it's being absolutely clear about the fact that there will be no options available in the petrol pump. In this video, I've put together the 5 most important new developments since the last time we did a video on E20. We've done 3 videos altogether. But these are the latest developments that you should know about E20 coming out of the government right now. Before we get to it, remember, like, share, subscribe. Sign up for our membership if you're so inclined. We will send you a news bulletin every day that has no drama at all, where we deliver 10 minutes of news from around the world to you in an almost BBC/All India Radio fashion. Give it a listen and, let me know. We've had over 1,000 people who have signed up already who are happy customers. We'd love to have you join in as well. So here are the 5 most important developments to do with ethanol in the last couple of days. Now, development number 1, Nitin Gadkari has finally acknowledged that there is in fact a mileage issue. Now, remember, there was a Q&A that was put out by the government, by the Petroleum Ministry a couple of days ago, that acknowledged that there will be some loss of mileage, and then quickly went on to say, but the benefits outweigh that loss of mileage. Now, Nitin Gadkari recently gave an interview to ABP in which he said now publicly that there has been a mileage fall, although he did say, and he went into the technicalities and said that if you're driving in the city and you use your brakes a lot, there is a mileage loss. There's a mileage loss for all fuel and not just for ethanol. And if you actually drive on the highways, then there is a fuel efficiency in ethanol that is lower because it has lower calorie value. It was a convoluted argument, but it's the first time he's personally accepted the fact that there is lower mileage, although the Petroleum Ministry had already confirmed that in the Q&A a couple of days ago. But it matters because now the government is making this, acknowledgement to motorists who've been complaining about it for a while. Now, in development number 2, and this is a really interesting thing for me, Gadkari completely distanced himself from the fuel policy entirely and from the pricing policy. So in that same interview, when the questions came up about fuel prices, about ethanol policy, about whether or not people should have a choice about the kind of petrol they put in their cars, he kept saying the same thing. He said, ask the Petroleum Ministry, this is not my job, which is odd because he is the poster boy of ethanol and E20 in our country. Somehow, even though he is the highways minister and not the petroleum minister, this entire policy is attached to him as the brand manager. When he was asked why petrol prices have not fallen, despite the fact that we've had huge foreign exchange savings, he said, ask the Petroleum Minister. When he was asked how multiple grades of petrol is not available in the fuel pump like they are in Brazil, he said, ask the Petroleum Minister. When asked why he should push these changes, he said, ask the Petroleum Minister. And he clarified that his ministry certifies vehicle engines and vehicle standards, but fuel policy and fuel pricing and the rate of ethanol blending, so whether you're getting E5, E10 or E20, completely comes from the Petroleum Ministry and the Union Cabinet and not him. Now, Gadkari has, like I said, become the poster boy of this entire policy. He's also become sort of the person who's attracted like a magnet most of the public criticism about this policy as well. And now he's effectively saying, hey, I deal with the roads and the vehicles. I do not decide on the fuel. So, go figure it out. This could be one of 2 things. He has been told to maybe earmark his policy, his ministry very clearly and not color outside the lines. Or in the cabinet reshuffle, maybe he will be given petroleum. We don't know. There's obviously some sort of change coming, and the tone with which the government is responding on E20 has changed as well. He also said something else that was really interesting in this interview. He basically said, if you feel your car is giving less mileage, take the vehicle to a dealer, have them test the mileage on diagnostic equipment. If there's a problem, it is for the vehicle manufacturer to respond. And then he said consumers are free to approach consumer court if they believe ethanol has caused measurable loss. And this, has anybody ever seen the inside of a consumer court? Some of us as journalists who covered consumer courts know what it looks like. And if you think you're going to get any justice from consumer court, really, it takes years. Consumer courts in India are choked with the kind of stuff that comes up in front of it. They are understaffed. The dependency is insane. People come with, someone standing there talking about the fact that their fridge is not cooling, and then the next case is about, somebody else who's not received their value in consumer court. It takes years and a lot of determination to get any justice. So the fact that the government has brought in a policy that may or may not be damaging cars, or may not be, and now they've acknowledged that there is a loss of mileage, and they're turning around and saying go to consumer court, I think is rather insensitive. Because fundamentally, when a family in India buys a car, when any individual in India buys a vehicle, it's a big deal. You pay a down payment, and then you take a loan which you're paying for years, and you pay road tax, and you pay toll, and you pay GST, and there's dealership costs, and there's so much that you have to maintain it, and then you have to put fuel in, and then you have to clean it every day. It's it's a huge expense. It's a lot of work. And to say that there's a policy that may be causing damage, and if you have a doubt that there is damage, go to consumer court, is, I felt, a completely inadequate, answer to come from the minister. He also said that accusations that his sons have made money off this, he will take very personally, and he will take legal action on people who are making those accusations on social media. Development number 3, and I think this should be acknowledged. One of India's biggest daily vloggers, Sourav Joshi, who has 41 million subscribers on YouTube, posted a video basically in which he mentioned that his Mercedes SUV has the mileage has crashed from what was 17 kilometers per liter to 5 kilometers per liter because of E20 petrol, he said. And the clip went bonkers viral, and it became one of the biggest talking points on the ethanol debate. Mercedes-Benz responded immediately. The company issued a clarification saying all of its BS6 petrol vehicles sold in India are fully certified and compatible with E20. E20 should not be causing this kind of damage or mileage loss that was shown in the video. Then came another twist. Sourav Joshi himself pulled down that video, clarified, and issued an apology. He said the technicians at the service center found that there was a fault in the vehicle, and it was not because of E20 petrol. And the reason why I'm bringing this up in the story is the pace at which the car manufacturer actually responded. I mean, one of the world's biggest car manufacturers to respond in just a matter of hours after this video went viral just goes to show how sensitive and how politically charged the E20 debate has become, and how all stakeholders right now are sort of holding their breath on it, including car manufacturers, petrol dealers, everybody is sort of like, okay, what's going on here? Development number 4 is that the government has shut the door on different options in the petrol station. The ministry formally ruled out offering multiple petrol options in India. That means nationwide, you will not have a choice between pure petrol, E10 and E20. You have to take what is given to you. The government argues that maintaining different fuel grades across thousands of petrol pumps would be completely impossible because of the logistics. So despite the growing demand for clarity and for choice, E20 will remain India's standard petrol. So the government, they're really digging its heels in spite of all of the criticism, and saying, no, we've invested deeply in this whole process. We're not rolling it back. And one of the things that I found striking in the Q&A sheet that came out for the Petroleum Ministry a couple of days ago, they said that, hey, public sector banks have invested a lot in this. There's a lot of money that has gone into building our capacity for ethanol production in order to achieve 20% blending. We cannot roll it back right now. That money will be lost. And again, should we be asking motorists to take responsibility for an investment decision that the public sector banks have taken, which circles back to our own money at the end of it? When public sector banks fail, they take us down with them. So it's really quite a convoluted situation, and this is something we should take note of. Development number 5, IIT Kanpur researchers has put out findings saying that they have no evidence, they have found no evidence that E20 damages engines, and fuel efficiency losses based on their testing is 5% or less. Now, even though this report has come out, even though the government keeps saying that there is no reason to worry about engine damage, critics are not convinced. People on social media, people who own the cars, are saying that it feels different. The engine feels different. The engine sounds different. The engine's going back to the shop a lot, and they feel that it's about the petrol. There are bigger questions that are also coming in terms of water usage, in terms of the Petrol Dealers Association, and the fact that they're saying their infrastructure is not E20 compatible either. Their underground tanks sometimes leak water in the monsoon, and that completely ruins their stock of fuel because the blend splits when it mixes with water. So the debate is no longer about whether or not um, the government needs to give us more information. The debate is about how are we going to carry on, because the government is quoting, research like IIT Kanpur, but for each individual car owner or bike owner, they know what they're experiencing, and that is difficult to make go away. The question we're asking from now is, where do we go from here, right? The government doesn't seem to be budging at all. There are five possible things that might happen. Pressure for transparency. Remember, I told you there's a case before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has not heard it yet, but it's asking that the government put out a full list where I can tell as a car owner, if you bought, say, a Wagoner in 2023, you are this kind of petrol compatible, and that kind of petrol needs to be available in the petrol station. It wants information and choice, both of which the government that is not forthcoming with right now. The pressure for the government as it continues to make these economic claims saying that we have reduced crude import, we've saved foreign exchange, but it's not translating into lower fuel prices. It's not translating into something that the customer can actually sense. So on one hand, you're saying put up with the lower mileage and put up with the inconvenience because we've saved so much money on foreign exchange. But that foreign exchange money has not in any way translated to the person who's putting up with the convenience. You have not cut the prices for the fuel prices that have dropped from 120 at its peak to what is now $78 a barrel. That has not translated. On the other hand, 20% ethanol also you're not passing on. So why would I put up with this inconvenience as a citizen? And secondly, all of these arguments of it's helping the country, it's helping the farmer, it's helping the environment. These things are also currently being challenged. There's a bigger question that is looming that has not been answered and perhaps merits its own video. If India has a poor monsoon, which we are witnessing right now, or even a failed monsoon, in that scenario, will we have trouble growing enough sugarcane, rice, maize for ethanol before we grow enough for food? And that's a big question. What happens to our energy security? Will we have to divert some of this agriculture for food security? Will we have enough ethanol to achieve 20% blending? And if finally we're going to have to source the ethanol from overseas, then have we defeated our purpose completely? So a lot of the justifications that are being offered by government right now, people are raising questions for, and government is going to have to find ways to answer all of those questions, because in a democracy, we are owed answers and we are owed, clarifications as well. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you believe that this is going to get murkier before it gets better. Because it does seem like where we are at this point, the government is not going to be able to roll this back. So what is that middle ground in which it can make this better? Let me know.